Welcome to episode 6 of Long Toss here on the Walkoff. I am Adam Mack, and my host, Scott Belford, is away again today. He's actually flying back from Ontario, had some comedy shows out there. So he'll be back next week as normal, but for now, it is just myself, Adam Mack, joined by our list of panelists here. Let's go around. Joel from TikTok, you know him as Hey Commie, the man that
Oh, I got it
are
wrong
you
again.
fully responsible for the sticky stuff getting eliminated in the MLB, Joel, or just partially responsible?
It's I like the thought that I'm fully responsible for it, but absolutely not. Absolutely not. Baseball Exists does an incredible documentary about the full past of it and history of it. John Boy had done stuff about sticky hat on Garrett Cole.
Right.
I just after Bauer kind of spread after the knowledge became like spreading spider tack around. I think that's kind of when I jumped on it, kind of expose specific videos, but it's just an element of a massive thing that's gone on for 100 years, right?
It was really cool though to see how the whole baseball community of fans really didn't let baseball hide from that issue. We really collectively as a team shone the spotlight on it, and it became something that baseball had to address. So pretty cool in today's day and
Well,
age to see the fans have an impact like that.
I felt like the issue that scared me, I don't know if you remember this time last year. Well, actually, it was a little bit more. It was like a month and a half into the season, and OPSs were really down, like all time lows. They're like the lowest OPSs since 1905. They're talking about moving the mound back to
Mm-hmm.
62 feet 6 inches,
There were some
and I was
drastic
like,
changes being proposed
some
for sure.
and they're just proposing drastic things everywhere, right? So it was kind of a fear of seeing the game change, because I don't want to take. Oh, I think taking 2 feet away from a pitcher is like that would just be so evil to do. I just couldn't imagine them making a drastic change like that,
I,
right? That
I
would be
remember like 10, 15 years ago in the NHL, they were talking about making the hockey nets bigger, right?
yeah,
To get the
like
goal
it's
scoring back up. Like I'm glad they never went with something drastic like that. Like
the
some things
sport.
just need to stay what they are.
Yeah, the sport goes in waves, right? It's ups, it's downs. The pitchers change, the hitters change. It's an ebb and flow, right?
All right. Well, Craig Ballard, how you doing, buddy?
Well, I'm doing well, thank you. But to Scott, upon your return, I do want pictures, receipts, like anything that can prove why you've been away the last 2 weeks, because now I've have been blessed to be on 2 weeks in a row. Sans Scott, Adam trying to have me believe it's a coincidence. It may well be. But Scott, the ball is in your court. I'll be looking for some proof, good sir. Other than that, I'm doing very well, and it's great to be on as per usual.
Awesome. And we're joined as always by our wonderful moderator, Mark, who will be taking Discord questions and keeping track of the YouTube chat. So if you're watching on YouTube live right now, get your questions in the chat, comment along with us, and Mark's going to be pulling out some of the better ones, and we'll get to everything that we can as we go. How you doing, Mark?
Yeah, I'm doing good.
Good, good,
Doing
good.
good. Wish we had baseball going on, but
Yeah, not yet, but hopefully soon, right? I guess there's baseball for some, and for some, let's pivot now to our special guest this week, Chris Beck, friend of the
Hey
show.
guys, how you
We're
guys
excited to
doing?
have you back. Chris, do you know you're down in Dunedin right now? Hey, you're at the training facility down there.
Yeah.
Do you know where you're going to be starting the year this year, or are you still in the,
I
the
mean,
tryout portion of things?
yeah, it's just a work in progress, working
Yeah,
towards going to AAA.
yeah.
I just gotta give 100% each and every day, and they'll make the decision. Whatever decision they make, I'll be on the field giving them 100%, like always.
Awesome, love it. All right, well, let's do a quick rundown of some of the topics we're going to cover today, and then we'll jump right into it. So we're going to talk about the lockout, obviously, some updates there. We're going to talk about the latest MLBPA proposal that I guess kind of just got released publicly within the last hour or two. I guess we're going to have to kind of all speculate on how long we think we're in for a work stoppage here. I do have a fun but crazy, but also I don't know, I think is kind of realistic. Mega deal offer for Vladdy that I want to talk about and get your guys' thoughts on that. We're also going to talk about the MLBPA setting up a relief fund for stadium workers who are some of the forgotten victims in this work stoppage here. Obviously, if there's no baseball at MLB stadiums, there's no concessions, there's no security, there's no one working the stores or anything like that. So it's definitely impacting everybody. And then lastly, I did want to touch on the owner of the Chelsea Football Club is putting their franchise up for sale and seeking quite a bit of money. So we'll talk about all that sort of stuff today. Mark, do you have anything from Discord to get us started, though?
Yeah, let's have a quick look here. Oh, my Discord just froze. One sec. Oh, here we go. How about, I just wanted to know everyone's favorite ball game, meal, or snack.
Ooh, okay.
One of
Meal or
those?
snack? Let me start with this one. I guess for me, mostly it would be snack time when I'm watching Jays games. Middle of the summer, nothing better than a nice cold Slurpee to get me through a baseball game. Joel, how about yourself?
I'm gonna have to go with hot dog. That's the
Hot dog.
easiest.
Is that a
easiest
ballpark snack though, or is that something you're making for yourself on a?
Oh, I'm making it for myself. Yeah, like especially like I feel down. I found out that we're losing games. I'm making myself a hot dog. It's literally my like. I'm eating my feelings.
162 hot dogs a year, hey?
Oh, dude, it's if they say those things take a year, like a chunk of your life every time you eat one. It's like you might watch me to fall dead on one of these podcasts because I've eaten so many.
Speaking of hot dogs, I just found out recently that at Costco, the Costco hot dogs they sell at like the food court.
Mm-hmm.
So you can just buy those hot dogs like uncooked in the fridge section. So last trip to Costco, I went and bought like 40 hot dogs. So I'm ready for ball season whenever it does.
Exactly,
return.
you're prepared.
Craig, how about yourself? Favorite meal or
Well,
snack?
I'm all about the dough. So let's get the let's get the homemade pretzel. I'm gonna scrape all the salt off and sorry, not ketchup. If there's mustard available, I'll dabble. If there's not, I'm fine. If it's just raw like that, I'm fine with that. But yeah, I'm old school when it comes to that. That's if I'm at the ballpark. If I'm doing the TikTok live during the Blue Jay game, that Kami might remember, I always have the banana with me because I'm going to be trying to bring the energy for those 3 hours. Want something healthy by my side, right? Trying to be the adult at that point. So those would be my choices.
The bananas from Kawasaki.
What's that?
Is that a tip from Kawasaki? Monkeys
Never
Oh, right.
cramp.
Oh, yeah. That's right. Because monkeys don't cramp. That's right. That's right.
I miss
That's
Kawasaki.
brilliant.
Mark, how about yourself? Game day snack or meal?
There's a guy outside the Rogers Center on the Front Street side, right by the bridge that goes over the train tracks there. That guy sells the best the Italian sausage I've ever had. I can't go to the Rogers Center without having at least one of that guy's Italian sausages.
All right.
He's phenomenal.
Add it to your list next time you're at a game. I like it.
Right on the bridge.
And Chris, how about yourself? What's a game day meal look like for you heading to the ballpark?
Am I playing or am I watching?
Good question. Let's do when you're watching, and then let's talk performance.
All right, so
wise.
I remember I think you guys hit it on the spot. I mean, I would love like a Coke Slurpee with a hot dog. That'd be awesome.
That's not when you're playing, though, is it?
Definitely not when I'm playing. Yeah. I mean, on game days, I mean, it's pretty light, like right before. Definitely heavy breakfast. Right before the game, probably like a pregame snack, maybe like a salad or a good sandwich. When I was in Vancouver, they'd give us some awesome wedding soup. That was a really good like pregame snack. So yeah, I mean, I try to keep it light. Not trying to go into the first inning feeling too full, especially as a catcher. So
yeah, no kidding.
Yeah. The Coke and a hot dog, Coke Slurpee and a hot dog, though. That's awesome.
That's the Chris Beck special, then. That's great.
Yeah.
Are you a snacker during the game? Do you do like sunflower seeds or anything? Bubble gum?
Yeah. I'll eat some sunflower seeds for sure. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's now pivot now to the lockout. So we are 1 week into it, I guess, transitioning from just being a lockout to an official work stoppage, hey, as baseball has announced the cancellation of the first two series of the year and probably get an announcement that there's more games being canceled. I guess tomorrow we'll probably hear, right? How's everybody feeling about the state of the lockout and negotiations? Chris, you can feel free to keep your mouth shut on this. I don't want you to say anything that's going to get you in trouble, but if you're allowed to give your thoughts on it as well, then feel free. But I don't know. I'll just start it off because I'm probably the most pessimistic of everyone. I think we're probably going to see 60 games. Just after the COVID season that we had, they still got 60 to work. They got playoffs. There was a World Series champion, right? Like, it still shows the same in the record books. And I just think that now we're to the point where we've missed games, so it's not going to be a full season. So what's the difference between 140 or 60? Technically, they're both shortened seasons. So I'm pretty pessimistic. But Joel, how are you feeling?
I'll play the optimist and just say that, just to give a different opinion, but I think you're probably closer to right. April is a throwaway month, I think, for the owners. Like, it's when it comes to how much they make and TV contracts and how they have to, when they have to start paying back money. And so I think April is, owners are just happy to sit back and let the players deal with the brunt of because they don't care. When you got billions, the opinions of people who make thousands don't mean anything to you.
That's true.
But the players still feel that connection to the fans. And so the players feel that brunt of social media a lot harder than the owners do. So I feel like the owners happily will sit back and let the players take that negative feedback and see if that moves the chips in any way in their favor. And the players I don't think have been as strong since 94, right? Like, that's what everyone's saying. The union is firmly planted in the ground, and it's sad, but every 20 years or so, this, I guess, has to happen. And I'm going to stand with the players, and hopefully it gets figured out as soon as possible, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I was reading this article today in the Globe and Mail, kind of pointed out just the reason why owners might be so stubborn about this whole thing, right? Like, obviously the 94 work stoppage is the easiest comparison to make, right? And it's always kind of thrown out that, it took baseball like 10 years to recover from that and, to get the fans back and all this. But also the average valuation of a franchise back then was around 300 million. Mm-hmm. And now it's easily 2 billion.
Well, yeah, go to the mid 70s, right? And what did Steinbrenner buy the Yankees for? Was it like 10 million?
Yeah.
Like, to take a franchise 10 million to 10 billion in 50 years. Wow, it's just nuts.
So for these guys to play the long game, right? Like, it's I don't think they're going to be too worried about having one bad fiscal year if the end result is a CBA that is going to benefit them greater over the next 7, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Craig, how are you feeling?
We touched on this last week. I'm in the opposite camp here. I don't think Major League Baseball struggles to come back from this. In 94 and 95, that was the players, that was the fans' voice avoiding the game when it came back. That was how they could voice their displeasure. We have social media right now. Fans are screaming from the rooftops. They are not happy. In 94 and 95, when baseball came back, if I had a ticket and was protesting and wasn't going to go to the game, even if somebody else wanted that ticket, they would have no idea who I am, how to get that ticket. Now we have secondary market on social media, internet. Like, there will be a lineup a mile long for everyone that wants to sit and make the owners pay. There will be a lineup a mile long for those tickets. Turnstiles will be turning, cash registers will be chinging. I don't think this is going to be detrimental to baseball. I think the owners know that. I think the owners from day one have been looking to break the union. We touched on this last week as well with the players with social media in this day and age. The owners logging onto social media and getting lambasted. Only 2 or 3 of them would even know how to log on to social media to see the lambasting. Players are building complete brands on social media right now. They're not used to logging in every day, even though the sentiment right now is pro players. The ownership is going to have that PR game going. They're going to have cracks in what the players are doing, and the fans are going to start to turn. Where I can't believe we're already starting to see it. I cannot believe, and I hope Chris isn't going to throw a virtual swing at me here, but I cannot believe that the players are already looking at willing to entertain that 14-game playoff. The owners are winning right out of the gate. They are controlling this. They're accomplishing everything they want to accomplish. The owners are putting out a clinic right now of what to do, and the players are getting smashed. It's precisely what the owners set out to do.
Wow, that's a hot take. Chris, are you able to weigh in at all? Can you give us kind of a sentiment as to what at least guys at the minor league level, how you guys are feeling? Because, I mean, you're not voting members of the union, right? But this is definitely something that will affect all of you, right? So
yeah, I mean, definitely, we get to have our own opinions. I got to respect the players, obviously. I'm not too familiar with everything that's going on, honestly, because I'm, like you guys said, I'm not part of the PA currently. Mm-hmm. But I do respect them. I see that it takes 20 years to make these decisions that are going to stick with us for a long time. So I believe that they have to be sturdy because they want the best for every single player. I mean, there's nothing that I can go against them with that part. I'm going to have to ride with them wherever they go, and that's just how it is. So as far into detail onto what decisions they are going to make, I'm not too informed about that. But obviously I do want baseball to be back. I want the fans to get baseball because I myself have been a fan before, and I know what I mean. I can't imagine being a baseball fan without baseball. So definitely I would love for the game to come back.
So is it discussed at all around the training facility there in Dunedin, or is it just business as usual? And the guys who are there are just there to work and...
I mean, there's their side talks, everybody's concerned for the game. We all love this game just as much as the fans do, We want to be on this field, but we got to also understand that the PA, those are our guys, We're their younger brothers, and we got to listen to what those guys have to say. So we're just keep our head down, keep working hard as minor leaguers, and whatever decisions they're going to make, it's going to be the one that's going to benefit us too.
It is really cool that... I don't want to say for the first time ever, but it feels more so now than ever before that the guys at the major league level are considerate of that next wave of guys, right? Like there does feel like a selflessness on the part of the players.
I feel that goes back to the previous time that it happened, right? Because them holding out was for the next generation, and that next generation understands that and knows that they have to do it for the next generation, right? So that mindset has been passed down now since, before all of us were pretty much born, right? Like into the 80s.
That's exactly it, Joel. That's exactly it. They'll teach us to, like we said, we're the younger brothers, and whatever they teach us, if they say that we got to stand our ground as players and as a union and for the future, I mean, that's just what we got to do.
Well, I just can't even imagine from your perspective, like catching, right? As a baseball player right now, you're in a time where you dealt like the COVID seasons have happened. We're in the middle of this CBA, which is this humongous moment for the future of the game. We will talk about this moment here and now forever, the way we talk about 94 still. 94 will be talked about forever. And you have to deal with that. You have to deal with robot umpires. You have to deal with universal DH, like the changes that are happening in the game while you're trying to become a catcher in baseball. It's astounding. It's astounding what you have to deal with just with the game and what's going on outside of the game. I don't think it's ever been like this, really.
Well, you guys said it earlier. I mean, this game has its ups and downs, just like it changes every year. So, I mean, as a professional baseball player, you got to have the ability to just be versatile and just whatever game they want to put, however it is they want to put it. I'm in no decision to tell them they can't. So I just got to play that game and whatever it is, But I see the game of baseball coming back and giving us the love that we all get. Just got to be done the right way. That's it.
Totally. Well, let's have a look at what the latest proposal was from the MLBPA that we got today. The headline that really catches the eye is the claim from the league that things have gone backwards. They say they're further apart now than they were on Monday. I don't know if that's true or not, but it certainly feels that way. Doesn't seem like the union right now is as flexible on some of the concessions that they might have been right up to the deadline there, trying to avoid games. They are making some concessions, though, especially looks like related to rule changes that I wanted to talk about here. Most notable development in the union's proposal is their willingness to give Manfred and the league the ability to implement 3 on-field changes with just 45 days notice. Prior to that, they had required a full year notice. But the changes are related to installing a pitch clock, larger bases, and restrictions on the shift. Now, from what I've heard, the league wants to institute a 14-second pitch clock with empty bases and a 19-second timer with runners on. I guess let's start there.
Wow.
Craig, let's start with you. How much do you think a 14-second pitch clock is going to impact the pace of play? You think it's good for baseball?
I'm just so upset with the players right now that they keep coming with the guys that it's, that they need to protect the game of baseball. This agreeing to the 14 team playoff, horrible for the game of baseball. All 3 of these changes, just deplorable for the game of baseball. So the owners are doing exactly what they want to do. They're implementing the exact changes they want to make. The players are they're telling us they're trying to stand up for the game of baseball. I don't see it. All 3 of those changes that you just proposed are deplorable. Awful, awful. There's not 1 ounce of intellect in anything I know it's not your idea, but there's not one smart thing that just came out of your mouth there, Adam. I don't know what we are thinking here. The pitch clock, and what's the ramification? And what's the ramifications of the pitch clock? So Game 7 of the World Series, Chris, you're a catcher. You know full well if that pitcher is not 1,000,000,000% committed to that pitch, it's a problem, and it's also a safety issue, by the way. So in big, high stakes moments, how do you police that? No, everything you just mentioned there, I'm a hard no for.
Well, Chris, let's go to you because I see a big old grin on your face. So what are you thinking about this?
Hey, Craig, I don't necessarily think you're wrong at all, honestly. 14 seconds is very quick in real time. Very
quick.
That's chopping off 10 seconds per pitch. It's 24 right now.
Yeah.
It's going to be
24
quick.
Is the average?
Yeah, the average is right now is 24 seconds per pitch.
Yeah, it's about 24. Yeah, you're right. So, 14 seconds. It's gonna definitely have to be like game planned, like calling pitches. It's calling pitches, setting up defenses, because we set up defenses according to counts sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's definitely gonna have to be game planned in those 45 days.
Oh.
So, yeah, like I said, I'm in no position here to say whether it's a good or bad idea, but I cannot disagree with Craig.
I can't imagine the concept of calling games and reading bats and sitting there and seeing that a specific hitter is ahead of a pitch or behind a certain pitch, and then saying, oh no, I'm going to rely on that right now, but the counts or the calls are coming out of the dugout because you have to maintain a certain speed, and you're not able to like call a game based on feel anymore. Taking away framing at the same time with robot umpires, like the amount of changes that you've done to the game in the last 10 years. Like I just remember when it was like, hey, they added the DH in like what 73, and that was like the change for the decade, right? Like there was like changes came at 15 years apart, and it was one thing, and maybe the National League doesn't agree with it.
Well,
but now it's just insane.
Last week we talked about that wristband that was being used at the college level. You
Yeah.
guys remember, was that Vanderbilt that was using
Yeah.
the wristband? And they had I guess everybody defensively on the field, the pitcher, the catcher, everybody had a pitch count. Chris, did you read anything about this? Is this something that was talked about with the guys?
Yeah, I mean, I see. I mean, you know, Vandy's a very big like college baseball program.
Of course.
They love to win. You know, as far as the development side, as a baseball player, I mean, I don't necessarily agree with it because I think a catcher should learn how to call his own game. I understand their situation; it's win now, but I think we're taking it a little too far in the technology side there. With the, it was like a computerized wristband, right?
Yeah, it's like a
Almost like
digital,
an Apple Watch.
almost like an Apple Watch.
Yeah, I mean, we're taking away a little bit of the feel for the game there. So, I mean, just not my style. But hey, if Vandy wants to do anything that's going to help him win games.
Well, it might almost be necessary if the MLB goes to a 14-second pitch clock. You might have
What I was just thinking about with the 14-second is when we have a man on second, if we have a sequence to go to, because we can't just throw down one sign, we're going to shave off at least 3 seconds there. So it's going to be around 10.
It's going to be tight. It's going to be tight for sure.
And
Joel,
if
your
it shakes, it's
shakes
going to be even shorter.
Well, I did stuff about like game length. I did a few videos about game length. Some those are honestly some of my favorite videos. But like if you were to get 24 down to 20, that would be great. That would be great, right? Like if you could just shave off that amount. They want 10 seconds off. They want like Kwang Hyun Kim from St. Louis. Like he's the only one who pitches that speed right now, I think. And they want everybody to become Mark Burley. I think taking the which don't get me wrong, I love the way that Mark Burley would pitch that fast. That's beautiful. But I think when you take away catchers calling games, the managers, a majority of Major League Baseball managers are catchers. Why? Because they're always thinking the game. They're always, every single pitch they have to think the game. So you're taking away that thinking and that experience of sitting there and becoming a manager. Your playing career is what turns you into a manager. And now you're saying, oh, don't worry about that experience or don't worry about that thought process that you go through for 15 years and then become a manager and become the next generation of the mind of baseball, right? Like it's just so many changes, and every little drop that you make just makes circles that affect everything. It's just wild.
Guys, Rafael Dolis has not even looked in to check the sign at the 14-second mark. He does not even check the sign at the 14-second mark. Are you kidding me right now?
Oh,
and they talk about, and we've touched on this on the walk-off before, Manfred's desperate to get the game under 3 hours. Well, how is that his point is that young players coming up right now that can choose their path, they're athletes, so they can play football, basketball, or baseball. Nobody's choosing baseball right now. Even if he's right about that, and put me on record right now, Rob Manfred, you send him right my way. The very first time any of us hear a young stud player coming up and chooses baseball, and why'd you choose baseball? Oh, because did you see they got it under 3 hours? Wait a minute, now it's back on my radar. Are we ever going to hear that? Like, it doesn't even make sense. These fundamental changes don't even make sense.
I think you, Craig, you and Joel are making great points. Joel mentioned Mark Burley, and you mentioned Dolis. This is one thing that as pitchers, even as hitters, which I'll talk about this in a bit, everybody has different personalities. Everybody plays in a different rhythm. And as for the hitters part, there's some guys that don't get out of the box. There's some guys that get out of the box and undo their batting gloves like Nomar
style, right?
Yeah. And we can't throw down a sign until their ritual is done because they can look.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's definitely, I'm not too sure about it, but the personality of the game. I mean, everybody can't be Mark Burley.
Chris, is there something legitimate where we can actually shave time? Do you need the 8 pitches between innings? Like, is there anything legitimate that you can see from playing that actually may work that doesn't fundamentally change the game?
Very good question, Craig. For me, honestly, I love this game exactly how it's been made. Exactly how it is.
I'm with you.
So as far as changes to be made, I mean, the 8 pitches in between innings you have to, because it's not only just warming up. Sometimes maybe there's a pitch in the previous inning that wasn't there, that was spoke about in the dugout.
Oh, that's brilliant.
And then you have these 8 pitches to work on them. Sometimes these guys aren't just throwing 8 fastballs, you know. Sometimes we can throw 6 changeups if that's the pitch that he wants to work out in that particular spot. So, I mean, these 8 pitches, they're huge. Like I said, I like this game just the way it is because we have it perfectly game planned for it. And as soon as you make one little change in this game, the whole plan changes. So we're just going to have to see how this unravels.
That's hand in hand with what Joel just said. The mind of a catcher. That's why they make the managers, the best managers. They've got wheels turning. That was brilliant. We're working on something between innings. Go out and have a look. That's brilliant.
Yeah, definitely.
Remember the last time they changed chess?
Nope.
It's very, very good, smart ass answer, Joel. I love it.
Well,
Mark,
chess is a game we could get under 3 hours. Now that I don't mind. If Rob Manfred was in charge of chess, that I don't mind.
Yeah. All right, Mark. I see YouTube's blowing up. Do we have some YouTube comments to get to here?
Oh, this is a fun topic on YouTube. We got a question. Why wouldn't the players want 14-team playoffs? It would give more players a shot at winning a ring. And I'll add, we might have won a ring last year if we had 14 players. I think we would have.
Pretty good chance. It is interesting. I know we talked about this last week. I think Joel brought up in the Japan leagues there they have a ghost win in the first round, right, where one team starts up 1-0. From what I'm reading, it sounds like that's what the players are wanting.
I know, Chris.
It's
interesting.
If it goes to 14 teams, that's what the players are pushing for. Is that number 1 gets a bye, and then 2, 3, and 4 start up 1-0 in a 3-game series against 5, 6, 7.
Well, the players are willing to go to that. It's the owners that want that. The players are willing to allow the owners want those extra 2 teams for that revenue. So the players now see that as their avenue to get the owners back with the collective bargaining tax. Yeah, exactly. Because now, so this is a way to inject more funds. Owners, are you happy now? But what an interesting question. Mark's asking, never mind the owner's side. Why are the players opposed to this? And I think it's a very interesting question.
Well, the reason I've always heard is that the players are worried that if more teams are in the playoffs, less teams will be buyers at the trade deadline, will be less likely to tell themselves, we need to go out and sign Freddie Freeman because we don't need to worry about it. We can finish at 500 and still roll into the playoffs. And then once we're there, anything can happen, right? That's the excuse I've always heard, but I don't buy it. I think it does the opposite effect. If I could just speak frankly here, I think it takes more teams who maybe feel out of it, right? You take a team like the LA Angels there in Anaheim who, in the middle of August are looking at the division are going, we don't stand a chance at making the playoffs. And you go, well, maybe there's 14 teams. Maybe we could still do it. I think it would do the opposite, but I think that's generally where the players are coming from is that they want more teams to feel the need to spend, but
I'm in for anything that doesn't have the stupid 1-game wild card. I know Chris won't, honestly, and Chris, I know you won't believe this, Chris, but I'm old enough. There was 2 divisions, American League East, American League West, National League East, National League West, and you made the playoffs by winning your damn division. That's how this guy grew up.
Craig, didn't the Giants win 100 games that 1 year and they didn't make the playoffs?
Did not make the playoffs. Say that again, Mark. 100-win team.
100 wins.
Golf tee time as a 60-win team.
I remember that.
Wild.
All right, so my take on that is sorry to interrupt you there, Adam.
No, not at all.
My take on that, I mean, I have 2 sides. One side is, I got to stand with the players union there, and if that's what it's going to take to get the union on our the owners on our side, then it is what it is. We have to meet them in the middle at some point. The other side of me is, I mean, a 14-team playoffs that is going to be a little watered down. And the beauty of baseball playoffs is, like you guys said, there's 100-game winning season, 100-win season, and not make the playoffs. That should tell you something, how hard, how determined and how much chemistry a team has to have to make the playoffs. Mm-hmm. So if we start expanding this, I mean, how many underdog stories are we going to be able to have in the playoffs? Yeah,
Chris, Seattle last year would have been a major underdog story that would have made the playoffs
Yep.
in this format. Like there's to your point right there.
yeah.
Well, even without expanded playoffs, I wouldn't think anybody would have considered the Atlanta Braves a heavy favorite to go very far, but
That's true.
they still made it work. Okay, Chris, I know you got to get running here. We appreciate your time so much, but before we do, Mark, do we have anything left in Discord specifically for Chris before he goes?
Yeah, we got a few questions here. I'll start with Chris. I just wanted to know how you stay focused on an organization with so many options at catcher.
Honestly, it's just focus on my career, focus on my teammates. You know, I've built some really good relationships here with the Toronto Blue Jays. Not really too worried about it. I just go along my business, give them 110% every day, and whatever it is that happens, you know, I can only control what I can do today, and that's it. I just want to play baseball. You know, I'm not in this for the big decisions or for the rush route. I'm just in it for baseball, and God willing, I make it to the big leagues, and that's it. I just got to believe in myself.
Hey, I don't know what your timeline is, Chris, but for me, it's Moreno and Beck in 2025. That's our
Let's
catching
do it.
tandem there. So I love it. All right, Mark, you have another
I
one?
just
before we
asked
gotta-
Chris real quick before we go.
Yeah,
I just
Craig,
wanted, because
jump
you
in,
mentioned
please.
his team. Well, I would love to, Chris. I would just love to hear you wax poetically here. I'm just a big Elvis Luciano fan, and he's probably not where he thought or wanted to be at this stage of his career. He's gone backwards, but for good reason, right? You had to have him on the big league level for the Rule 5 draft. Now he's in Double-A. I would love to hear your thoughts on Elvis Luciano, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, he's a brother of mine, you know. He was a young kid. I met him when we first got him with the Rule 5, and you know, he took a leap that not a lot of people made. I mean, rookie ball to the big leagues, you know.
Awesome.
It could give you a lot of learning curves, good or bad, you know. And last year in Double-A, when he was healthy, he was very, very good. You know, I think he has the talent to play in the big leagues as long as he wants to. He's a very hard worker, really good teammate, really good person. So, I mean, I wish Lucy the best. I'll be behind the plate whenever he wants me to be and always helping him out.
That's awesome.
Great stuff. All right, Mark, we got time for one more for Chris, then we should let him go.
All right, Chris, time to scout yourself. What's your biggest strength and your biggest weakness that you know you need to work on?
Biggest strength is definitely defense, catching. Pretty much, I can catch. You know, I can call a game. I can handle a staff. This is me. You know, I'm a catcher all the way. Biggest thing I'm working on right now is hitting velo up. So it's a new game. You know, got to be able to handle high velo up. And I'm not talking 92, 93. I'm talking upper 90s at the top of the zone.
Yeah.
So it's the new you know, new route. Like we said, game changes every year.
You gotta
It's just
adapt.
something I need to adjust to.
Love it.
Who's your comp, Chris? Who's your MLB comp? Who do you see yourself being the next who? And brag, man. I don't want to hear any brag about this.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully, I mean, I'll be pretty much individual. I steal a lot of bases. So maybe Jason Kendall. You guys remember him?
Wow.
Yes.
What? Wow.
Great.
Wow.
Love it.
That's a clean-up hit catcher. Me likey.
All
Like
right,
Jason
well,
Kendall.
Chris, we better let you go, man. Thanks again so much for taking the time. Good luck in Double-A, Triple-A, wherever you end up this year, and we'll definitely be following along. So thanks again so much.
Thank you guys for having me. See you
Thanks,
guys.
Chris.
Thanks so much, Chris.
Cheers.
I think Chris made a bunch of new fans. I'll tell you that. He was awesome. He should have listed, as his strengths, he should have listed podcast guest.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Chris is a real gem. We're so glad to have
Well, we
him
had
as a
similar
friend.
comments in the chat. People loving Chris.
Smart and eloquent young man.
It is. There was a good comment there, I think, from the Discord though about. I mean, this is an organization with a lot of options at the catching position, and I think
That was a great question. Yeah.
Chris Beck flies under the radar. He's obviously not a Gabriel Moreno, and we got 3 catchers on the big league club right now. So, you know, he's got his work cut out for him to get there, but I think he's a hell of a guy. He's got the right attitude to make it happen. And, I mean, you know, we're already talking about Kirk maybe getting traded away, you know, whether it's for a pitcher or Jose Ramirez. Danny Jansen's getting older, and he's going to be up for a contract. Like, Jays are going to have to make a decision on him soon, right? We don't know what the future holds for Reese McGuire. So, like, all of a sudden we go from 4 catchers ahead of him to
Yeah.
maybe not by next year, right? Like the catching position
it's a tremendous.
could be very different in a couple of years for Toronto.
There's a lot of depth there. It really is.
Very cool. All right. Well, let's. I guess that's about it for the MLB lockout discussion here. Unless, Mark, is there anything else in YouTube related to the lockout that we should address?
Not really too much related to the lockout. A couple other questions, but
from what I'm reading on this this breakdown of the MLBPA's proposal today, looks like they, rather than move an inch on like the pre-arbitration bonus pool, the competitive balance tax, the minimum salary, or anything like that, looks like the only concessions they made was on some of those rule changes instead. So I don't know. It's gonna get ugly. I think it's gonna get ugly.
And do any of us know, like, is it just the obvious safety? Like, do any of us know, because we deep dive the pitch clock and everything else there, but do we understand why the bigger bases?
I think the idea behind the bigger bases, when it was first proposed as a suggestion, was that it was to help with base stealing. It was like to make the distance for a base stealing to be that much closer, right? Advantage players, or advantage base runner, I guess.
So it's not going to be 60 feet 6 inches anymore between, or sorry, not 60 feet 6 inches. Oh my God. Yeah, sorry, it's not going to be 90 feet between the bases.
Between bases.
Well, I mean, if center to base is still 90, but the bases are, I guess, 6 inches closer to each other. You know, edge to edge would be 89 feet, and they think that that's enough to make a difference on stealing bases. I mean, I guess if you're talking about bang plays, but I don't know.
I'm like, if you want, I understand the argument on first base for those plays where the pitcher's coming over and he's feeling for the bag and the legs come together, and you want to get away from, like, to me was an interesting idea was always the composition of the bag, especially just at first base, because for the life of me, you see so many wild injuries with players lunging into the bag, and it's the only bag that you run through, right? So technically, what you're doing at that base, you don't get me wrong, you run through second base, rounding it, you round third, but on a ground ball, you lunge towards the bag and you're able to go past the bag without being out, right? Yeah. So I hate when I see like Bryce Harper doing that's your opinion on Bryce Harper. So maybe a lot of people like seeing Bryce Harper, ass over tea kettle, but I always looked at the composition of the base. I was like, can you do something there? Can you change it any way just to make it a safer path for runners? And
Kami, what about like in softball? They've got that orange safety base that's in foul territory.
See, I think baseball has to work with, just be open with the idea, right? Like, you don't want to make something that softball people have really come out though and said that's the solution, right? You're not going to have that issue when you just expand the base by that much. And first basemen and pitchers going for that spot, because they get turned around and they have no idea where it is.
No, you're exactly
feeling
right.
around for it, and then legs come together. And if you can do something to stop that, like Acuna got hurt, I think, at first base. Trout got hurt at first base. Like, that's the last place you ever want somebody getting hurt, is legging out a base hit, right? That's like, it's such a small, you got to first and you're out for 100 games, right?
I'm going to throw a solution at you that doesn't solve all the problems, but this is just one wrinkle, and I want you guys to just come back at me with all the new problems it creates. But what about having bases flush with the ground?
That's interesting.
Could we have a sensor in there, Adam? So as soon as the cleat makes contact, it lights up.
We've talked about this before, Craig. We want bases that light up green when they're safe and red when they're out, right? Like, let's take the umps right out of it. No, but in all seriousness, at least at first base, I mean, I was just thinking about that Acuna injury, running down to first base, stretching for first, and then, it's 3 inches higher than a normal stride would land, right? And it's weird on the knee. He buckled and lost a good chunk of his season because of it, right? So I mean,
Well, what
it would
if you
make,
did that, right? When nobody's on base, right? You got a flush bag. Somebody goes on base, you put in a bag,
yeah.
right? It is a difference. It is a difference, but like, some of the time, at least you're taking it away for a chunk of the time that you're not running into that base full out, at least when no runners are on.
Base.
I think as far as a base runner goes, that would be safer. But then it also, I guess, would create a problem of like we said already, first baseman trying to find that first base blind while he's also keeping an eye on the ball, right? So if it's at the same level as the dirt, he's never gonna find it. So
Yeah, it's all about finding that
sliding.
lip, and putting that foot right up against it, right?
well, and Mark mentioned sliding. What about sliding? I mean, hey, here's
People
an
learn
idea.
pop-up slides. You're gonna slide right past the base half the time.
But the alternative is, I mean, think about a head first slide going into second base. Guys are jamming fingers. If that base is level or flush with the top of the
home
dirt,
plate. Home plate is embedded, so slides at home base are fine. Like we don't see problems with that. But that's a good point. No, Adam. How's the first baseman gonna search for that base with his foot as keeping an eye on everything that's happening? Yeah, you're right. We haven't come up with the perfect answer here yet.
I really hope, because we're just four boneheads talking here, I just feel like at the MLB competitive whatever competition committee, I don't know if they're even having this level of conversation to solve any of these problems.
Well, like to go on to making second base flush, right? You would have to make second base where if you're trying to steal second base, as soon as you make contact with the bag, they won't rule anything of you touching the bag and sliding through it and not maintaining contact, right? Like it's pretty much the concept of like stealing bases would then become a hybrid of first base. You would think of like, once you've made contact, they can't like push your hand off the no flush bag, right?
But if they're already going to make the bases bigger to encourage stealing or like reduce the number of pickoff attempts, like if that's the name of the game is, hey, we want more stolen bases, then maybe more guys go for it if it's, I don't want to say easier to do, but some of
it does allow you to get a little bit bigger lead. It makes, I don't know, could be interesting.
All right, well, let's move on from that. I do want to talk now about Vlad Guerrero Jr. potential contract solution. Mega deal for Vladdy. So, spoiler alert. I know this isn't good podcasting etiquette. I should definitely tease it out and not reveal the numbers till the end. But I'm going to go spoiler alert. $500 million over 17 years is the numbers that I came up with as something that was, I think, a fair starting point for the conversation. I think anything less than that, I don't know if they're actually even able to get him to the table. And the comparisons that I use, Juan Soto. So let me just go through these numbers here, and then anybody feel free to jump in and tell me where my numbers don't make sense or what I missed out on here. But Juan Soto over the next... Juan Soto just turned down that deal from the Nationals, right? $350 million over 13 years.
Yeah.
So that was a big deal. But the estimates that I've found online for Juan Soto's next 3 years of arbitration have him making $16 million in arbitration this year, $23 million the next year, and then $30 million in his final year of arbitration before free agency. So that's $69 million over the next 3 years of arbitration. So I guess the other way of looking at this 350 over 13 years is, well, he's already going to get 69 over 3. So really, it's not 350 over 13. It's actually 281 over 10 as an extension, right? Mm-hmm. So why did he turn it down? Well, he's already going to get 69 over 3. And then in year 4, he'll be a free agent at 26 years old. And I don't think anybody in the world thinks that a 26-year-old Juan Soto, the best free agent contract offer that he's going to get is only going to be 281 over 10, right? He's going to get either a much higher annual average value or more years or some combination of the two, right? 26 years old. That's an insane age to hit free agency for a superstar, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, guess what? Vladdy's also going to be 26. Very similar situation. He's got 4 years of arbitration left because of, service time manipulation is kind of the difference between Vladdy and Juan Soto. But estimates for Vladdy over his next 4 years of arbitration, $8 million this year, $16 million next, 23 after that, and then 30. So that's $77 million over 4 years. So what does a 26-year-old superstar get at free agency? Well, if we look at Corey Seager as a comparison, who just signed 325 over 10, and he's 28 years old, right? So that's a contract that's going to take him to 38, with an annual average value of 32.5. So if we gave Vladdy those first 4 years at $77 million, and then expect him to sign a contract to take him all the way to the end of his career at a similar annual average value. And I think, honestly, 32.5 is pretty conservative. Like, to think that that number isn't going to go up for players at the top of the game 4 years from now. Right?
Yeah,
Like, collective bargaining tax, that's going to go up. Just inflation across the board, it's all going up, right? So I think 32.5 over 13 years is a pretty conservative number that Vladdy could expect to get as a 26-year-old free agent. So if we add that up, 32.5 million over 13 years as a free agent at 26, plus the 77 million that he's going to get in his arbitration years, that's $499,500,000. So basically 500 million over 17 years. That's how I got to those numbers. If I'm Vladdy, I don't know why I would take any phone call that involved less than that, right? 17 years is a crazy commitment, right? So solution I came up with was have a team opt out after 7 years. This protects the team if the deal looks bad after a few years, or if, Vladdy's performance goes down or he starts to be plagued by injuries as he progresses through his 20s, right? But it still protects Vladdy because at 7 years, if the team opts out, he's still 29 years old, and it does allow him another chance at a good, sizable free agent contract on the market there. So 7 years, 200 million, right? An opt out after 7, but the team has the option of keeping him for the next 10. Like, if things continue to look good and the price of free agents continues to grow. We use the Albies and Acuna deals in Atlanta as examples of what a steal those two contracts were, right?
Where'd that GM come from?
What's that?
Wasn't it Anthopoulos who signed it?
Albies and Acuna?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Right? That's it's our old GM there going, making two of the greatest signings in current baseball.
So that's the gist of my contract suggestion for Vladdy is 500 million over 17 with a team opt out after 7. It's only a team opt out. Vladdy doesn't get the option to opt out after 7. I think if Vladdy gets the option to opt out after 7, it's got to be for a smaller total dollars. Like, the team needs a discount on annual average value if Vladdy wants a team option or wants an opt-out after 7 and wants to test free agency. If we're going to give him fair market value, something that he could sign today, I think that the team gets a little bit of protection, and that's the trade-off. Where did I go wrong on this? Tell me why this doesn't make sense. I know 17 is a scary big number, right? But how else do we make it work?
Well, it was a brilliant breakdown. I just can't do it. If I'm Vlad, I'm not even at the negotiating table unless the annual is 40 million, and I probably need 45 million. I look at Vlad and Bo's re-ups coming up as, if I'm them, I'm taking the Alex Rodriguez approach. Alex Rodriguez signed 2 10-year, $250 million contracts. I'm looking for 2 $500 million contracts, and I'll pare back if I have to. I think both of these guys, if I'm Vlad and Bo, I want to hit that market multiple times. If I'm the Blue Jays, I'm way more looking at a 5-year offer right now for both of them. So something that's going to let them hit that open market. You look at Correa right now. Correa is looking for $35 million. Vlad, 4 years from now, will be double the player that Correa is. Like Vlad,
up, right?
Completely unbelievable. If I'm Vlad, $40 million, I would consider my home team discount to stay with the Blue Jays. If it's somebody else, it's 45 to 50 million. I think these guys are going to have massive. Your offer is massive, Adam, but it's massive from a year's standpoint. I don't think either one of them are going to want to do that. I think they'll both want to hit the market multiple times. Alex Rodriguez.
You think like 6 or 7 years, or how many years do you think Vladdy wants then? How many to hit the free agent market? You think he signs 5-6 years, gets to free agency at 28, 29 years old, and then signs another short-term deal, another 4 or 5 year deal?
Would 5 years at $200 million do it now? So that's 5 years. So yeah, $200 million. That's $40 million a year now. We've taken care of you on the front end. When it comes time to take care of you on the back end, will there be some sort of hometown deal? If we can show you that we're the organization for you for these next 5 years, we're committed to the spending, we're going to be winners right there with you. If that's the case, then we're the front runners for the big re-up. But if I'm Vlad, I get a long-term deal.
My thing I don't like about that, or not that I don't like about that, is if we're just going the arbitration route, it's 4 years at $77 million. So to sign to a 5-year deal today for $200 million, we're essentially giving him $133 million for the 5th year.
Which we hope means that's coming off of that back end when he is ready to hit the market.
So that's risky. That's risky to just hope that, hey, we'll give you $133 million for 1 year, hoping that we get a discount on the back end. I don't know. I love it. Joel, what do you think? Bust out the abacus for us, old man.
To me, I like ideally, which is impossible right now, which is ridiculous. You look at Machado and Tatis for 625. Those two, right? It's about that. Grabbing those two, that would be such a steal to be able to sign our 2 guys to something like that, which will never happen.
No, I know.
Ideally, I think if you want Vladdy here long term, I think it's got to be kind of like a David Ortiz situation. Not in money. I mean, in the way that you solidify him as a Blue Jay, and that when he puts on that jersey, he feels connected to the city the way Ortiz felt connected to Boston, and that he felt that allegiance there. But I think what you're going to have to do in a signing situation is something like Trout, where you appease them big in the short term, because you need him to 28. We need Guerrero to 28 years old. We need that the production you will get over that amount of time is 48 home runs to break the record as a 22-year-old. That's incredible. It's incredible. Is the way that I can't talk up the guy enough. I've watched this team forever, and I've never seen anyone hit like that. I've never seen anyone hit like that on the other teams. He is so incredibly special with his bat, his pedigree coming from his father, being a Canadian. That's on his passport. It says, where's he from? Well, Canada's on there, So it's like, what more could you ask for, right? Connecting him not only to now, but to the history of his father in this country, right? Like, you couldn't ask for a better spokesman for the team. So I feel like with the way that the team has built itself through grabbing these amazing pitchers, if you can lock him up to 28 and you can show him consistent winning over that span, then he will want to sign that contract that allows him to beat up on the Yankees and allows him to beat up on the Red Sox and allows him to beat up on Tampa Bay, because those are his rivals. And you see the competition in him, and you see the drive in him wanting to beat those teams and be the best of the AL East. So I think to get him long-term, like oh God, if he would sign something big right now, 100%, just back up the truck until he signs 15 years, whatever the number is. I don't give a shit. But if he's not doing that and he's looking at 28, I could be signing something monumental, sport busting. Then you have to give him that incredible success on the field and that joy of playing in front of that home crowd when it's buzzing. You give him all of that, and then you've got this Ortiz type figure who wants to stick around and wear that color until his final season.
And that's right where I am too. And let's not forget, it's already contentious between Slim Daddy Vladdy, as contentious as it could be. He's such a great person. But the Jays manipulated service time. There's just no doubt about it. So that's strike one. That's not off to a good start. That's not off to a good footing. So Tommy, if you let these arbitration years play out, if you do not re-up with Vlad ahead of time, if you just let it play because by rules you can, oh boy, I'm not liking that at all.
Yeah,
I think we can all agree on that nobody wants to see this just play out through arbitration and then sign it, because that, like you said, that's probably the worst case scenario for Jays fans, right?
Think about the deal for Trout though, because Trout, they signed, what was it, a 5-year deal when he was, I can't remember his extension. It was a 5-year deal at like 23. Okay. And it was $180 million deal at that time to extend him. And through the failures of playing in Anaheim, they were able to sign the massive one to lock him up forever. The success that Guerrero will have in Toronto will far succeed that. So you can really build, and the training facility that they built, the renovations that they're bringing to Skydome, like it's all of these things are saying, hey, we're investing in this team in every way, shape, or form. And you see the friendships that he has on that team. He loves the players on the Blue Jays. He loves Gurriel. He loves Bichette. He loves Teoscar. They're a group of so if you're able to do that and balance all of that, then yeah, I can't see why he doesn't want to set up roots and be here long term.
Tommy's making it rain with great points. And so I honestly think, Tommy, just from what you're saying there, I honestly think we should expand this convo and include Bo, because stiffing Bo or screwing around with Bo's extension is not going to sit well with Slim Daddy Vladdy, and vice versa, by the way, and vice versa.
Yeah, this is Eddie Matthews and Hank Aaron. This is Gehrig and Ruth. This is
not an Adam from the Walkoff podcast.
This is the greatest building point of this team I've ever seen, right? Like they built that feeling in 2015 and 16 off of veteran players that people had discarded. Mm-hmm. We have now players who put up that production who are internally built, who have won on every level. Yeah. And that legacy, you have to, right? This is the time, this is the place in this franchise's history to do it.
So let me nail both of you down then here to something concrete. Because my offer was give him an absurd amount of years with a fair market value based on today's dollars, right? $32 million forever.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Forever.
Your strategy is give him a mega annual average value, right? Up 40 north, right? 45 million, relatively short term, right? 5-6 years. And then hope that he falls in love with the city of Toronto. Hope that we've built up a good enough relationship with him that once he's 28 and has 300 home runs already, that he's going to.
Yeah, I like look at the history of that type of that echelon of player. Trout has stayed, Tatis has stayed, Acuna has stayed. Soto has yet to stay.
How much are we going to have to pay him when he's 28 years old? Right? Like if we're talking about giving him $300 million for 5 years.
Oh, now?
No, we couldn't do that. That's $60 million a year. No, we couldn't do that.
Oh, okay, my math is off. What's 200 over 5 years? Is that what we're talking then? 250 over 5 years?
Well, 205 is still that's still pricey. That's still 40 a year. I mean, that's still pricey. We may be able to come down from that. I just don't like 32 a year for 17 years. He's going to have teammates surpass him annually as that deal goes on. Like $32.5 million for Slim Daddy Vladdy, just not going to cut it.
Like,
so you don't think
six
it would take you don't think it would take $500 million over for you get one contract for your career?
I literally think they're going to try for $500 million and pair back if they have to. They're going to try to Alex Rodriguez's, both of those guys. And if they have to pair back to 10 years, $400 million, they will. But they're going to be looking for something eye-popping.
Second part of this conversation. Now let's pivot from speculation on what a contract might look like. Let's start diving into the. Scott and I have talked about this earlier. We might have talked about this on an earlier long toss as well. When these two kids were coming up, right? We kind of all knew we weren't going to get a Acuna Albies situation out of them, right? We weren't going to be able to sign them as 20-year-olds to $100 million long term, right? Because of where they were coming from, right? Two Hall of Fame dads, or I don't think Dante's in the Hall of Fame, but like all-star Silver Slugger dads, player, yeah. Right? Made their millions, so financially they're not in a situation where, you know, they're desperate for money to, you know, change their family's legacy and stuff like this, right? So we knew we weren't going to get a significant discount as 20-year-olds when they were first making their debut. But does this work in our favor long term? Right? Is there any chance that these kids who already kind of come from money, right, to some extent, you know, dads both made millions as MLB players, does Bo Bichette look at his dad and say, my dad loved baseball, never got a World Series ring? Right? I know Vlad Sr. got one, I think, with where did Vlad Sr. get his World Series ring? Was that with the Angels?
He won an MVP.
World Series ring.
Yeah, he won an MVP with Anaheim. I don't know if he won a World Series.
Okay.
No way. There's no.
All right. Well, let's put a button in that. Let's just. If he didn't, then that kind of proves my point even more. Is that do both of these kids say, look, my dad made millions of dollars. The only thing he didn't get was a ring. Like, how much does that haunt their dad to a level where it affects them? And they go, you know what means more to me than making literally $1 billion would be 5 World Series rings. My dad would pay any amount of money to have a World Series ring.
And that's the thing, Adam. It's not going to be them coming to that realization. It's going to be their dads telling them, how much money is enough, son? Major League Baseball is going to let you keep the money you made already, right? So you have generational wealth already, right? How many times you heard around lamenting that I don't have a World Series ring? You think, what's going on in Toronto? They're set up for success, and you want to look elsewhere? Sit down, son. Let's talk. I think the dads will have that influence on them.
Mm-hmm.
But there you go, right? So that's my point, right? Like, does that end up working out in our favor where they go, what's the difference between $300 million in my career and $700 million in my career?
Especially for Vlad Sr., who had to go around from team to team to team to chase that winning. He can say, son, your hometown country is doing the winning. And you want to do what? You want to go where?
Yeah.
Vlad was a child on the field in Montreal. Okay. His connection to baseball. I don't know what your connection to baseball is, but his connection is him at 4 years old, being a little pudgy kid, seeing people cheer his father in Canada. Right. And, you know, that when you see Bo, let's go to Bo when the season was over and the realization that he might not be able to play with Marcus Semien anymore hit him. Mm-hmm. Like, it was like he lost something. It was like he lost a relative. It was emotional. You could hear it in him. And I think the competitive nature of those guys is through the roof. They just want to win. They want to win. And they've been connected to winning. They've climbed the ladder of winning. They've gone to the All-Star game together for the first time here. You know, it's just like the connections that you have I don't know. It would mean a lot to me.
Yeah,
And
and in Toronto would be epic. Like, honestly, I don't want to take away from the Braves winning. Their World Series parade was an abomination, an absolute joke. Winning in Toronto would be such a big deal, man. Would be such a big deal. You saw the Raptors parade. You saw the Raptors championship parade. We're talking about setting a new standard for championship parades. So it's not going to be lost on these guys. If they win one, and here I am about to say, if they win once, they'll be hooked on Toronto. Guys, they're probably already hooked on Toronto, right? We just need to make the finances work.
Crazy.
The business.
So am I at the end of the day, am I crazy to think that maybe who their dads are hurt us with contract negotiations when they were 20, but might help us in contract negotiations in terms of getting a little bit of a discount? You know, look at Tom Brady just retired, famously always took less money so the team would spend on a team around him, right?
I'm with you. I'm right with you.
Am I just being romantic about this, or is this at all a real chance that we might see these guys not take maximum dollars and bleed the system dry? Joel, go ahead.
Well, once again, I think the money that these guys will also make outside of baseball will be insane. I think the brand of these two players is absolutely incredible. So not only here they represent a country. This is an incredibly massive market. An incredibly massive market that you automatically get to be on my annual baseball magazine. They make a specific cover for me. It doesn't. There's an American cover that has Ohtani on it. There's a Canadian cover that's got Guerrero on it, and it's going to have Guerrero and Bichette on it for the next damn 10 years, next 20 years, hopefully. Things are different up here, and if San Diego can lock up players with who they are, we can lock up players like that. You know, we can, and they've saved money, and I just gotta be the eternal optimist that because those are the two players that I want to invest the core years of my life enjoying baseball, you know, because that would be such a gift.
Can I just say, I'm really excited about getting back to, because I firmly think this is going to happen, guys. I'm really excited to get back to talking about Vlad, Bo, and Biggio. I'm really excited. I'm telling you, I've not given up on this guy.
I haven't either.
Threesome. I do.
I think we're all in the Kevin Biggio boat. Mark, let's turn to you now. How are you feeling about this whole long-term prospect of these two kids and Biggio? Biggio, just to a lesser extent, contract-wise, Biggio isn't in the same category.
Well, no, Biggio's not in the same category as Bo and Vlad, but I'm kind of in the middle of where you guys are saying. I think 7 to 10 years, I'm okay with the same AAV, 40, 42, something like that. I guess I kind of feel like my concern with Vlad is physical concern into his early to mid 30s. If you sign that guy to 17 years, you might have a problem at 32. So I don't know. I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah, but that's the risk when you sign him when he's 28 as well, right? Like,
well, that's why Adam wanted the team opt out.
The team opt out at 29. But
I also think that's there. There's no way Vlad agrees to that opt out. Not on your life. I don't think that he would ever agree to something like that, because if he's going to sign a $500 million 17-year deal, he's going to want it locked in. He's not going to say, hey, if I have health issues or if I underperform for the first 7 years, I'm just going to let you out of that contract. I don't think he's going to let you do that. So I don't think that the team opt-out is even an option.
Maybe we'll
but
see.
I kind of like the 7 to 10 year range. I think 5's a little short. If you want to lock them up for 10 and then renegotiate after that.
I don't see Vlad signing a contract that ends when he's on the wrong side of 30 for this first big contract. Because I just think that when he's 32, he's not going to get a mega deal. Like, I mean, let's look at Albert Pujols. He got the $300 million 10-year deal. I think the first year of that might have looked okay, and every year since then has been pretty ugly. I don't know.
Yeah.
Let's go to Discord here. Do you have any non-Chris Beck Discord questions?
Yeah, we got one for Craig. Craig,
All right.
Saw your high stakes fantasy team drafted Corbin Burns at 17th overall. Was that a unanimous decision? And who are your other options you were considering?
Well, thank you so much for the question. Really appreciate that at Wheat Sox UFLB. But all along, we had wanted to take Walker Buehler at 17th overall, all along. And Walker Buehler was sitting there at 17th overall. Clark, who we had on the show on with us last week, he's he's the GM of the team. And he was hosting. This is on the first round, so he was co-hosting their broadcasting of the first round. So he was in a different area altogether. And as Burns was coming, I'm in all caps texting Clark because that was the pick, Walker Buehler. We were so thrilled to have him, and Buehler's awesome. Don't get me wrong, but Corbin Burns, who I never even allowed myself to daydream would be available. I never even allowed myself to daydream about it. He was sitting there. Jordan Alvarez went at 16, so Burns was there at 17, and I'm typing to Clark in all caps. Got to be Corbin Burns. All of a sudden, I get a text back. You sure? Got to be Corbin Burns. It's all caps. I'm just yelling from the rooftops. So I'm out there on record. If Walker Buehler's the 2022 Cy Young and Corbin Burns goes for Tommy John surgery, I am a 4-letter word on that. I'm probably 4-letter word on this. Like, a lot of trouble here. So the way you worded that was it unanimous?
And some wood. Knock on it.
Right here. You already know, Kami, right here. But Kami would agree with that. But Kami, you would agree with that, right? Corbin Burns at 17, sitting there. I mean, thank you, fantasy gods.
There were some big ace starters that I was kind of skeptical on this year, and Burns got better after foreign substance. After enforcement, his numbers electric all the way through. His spin rate, top. Like, Corbin Burns is 6 2/3 of Mariano Rivera. That's what he is. That cutter is 97. And you know, that's what it is. That's what you're getting. You're getting his sinker low and away is incredible. He's got a really good curveball. Like, you're literally getting 6 2/3 of Mariano Rivera as a starting pitcher. Like, what? No, you can't. Yeah,
this is a dynasty league with salary cap, so that's Corbin Burns on a rookie contract.
Exactly, absolutely. Whoa. Incredible deal, incredible player, and that cutter's never going to go away from him. That cutter's always going to be effective. It's going to be effective for a decade. It's going to be incredible.
Craig, I'm just curious. I mean, you mentioned Corbin Burns kind of fell into your lap there at 17. Were there any like really off the board picks then ahead of you in the first 16 picks? And if so, can you think of maybe one or two that like kind of just shocked everybody, or was it for the most part pretty as expected? Oh,
great question. So we had Walker Buehler as our A, and then Ozzie Albies as our B, because second base is such a hard position to get. So we wanted Albies or Altuve. If Buehler wasn't going to be there, we assumed Kyle Tucker, who we loved as well, wouldn't be there. He went early. Ozzie Albies went number 12 overall. Right when that happened, 12 overall. Right when that happened, I said, well, people are already starting to go off board. I started to daydream about Corbin Burns right in that moment. Right. And even Jordan Alvarez, who I think we probably all man, he mashes for Houston. He went at 16. I just don't know how you take him. A DH designation over a Cy Young like Corbin Burns. Everything just fell. But that Ozzie Albies at 12, that's where I started to see, oh, people are going way off board here. Wait a minute.
Now, this is last question here on this, and then we'll move on here. But this is Dynasty League. This is the first year of what is to be a Dynasty League? Okay.
Exactly.
All right.
And by the way, gentlemen, we did get a Blue Jay in the third round. We were about to take Kevin Gausman. He went right in front of us, but we ended up with a pretty neat little plan B for the Blue Jays. How about George Springer? Hey,
there you go. George Springer. Everyone loves George Springer, except my dad. My dad's still holding a grudge.
Okay.
All right. Mark, do we have any comments here from YouTube before we move on?
Yeah, we got a bit of a discussion here on YouTube earlier when we were talking about Biggio. So I guess the question is, do you guys feel the fan base has given up on Biggio? And well, Michael thinks that he might have a big year this year. So what's your thoughts?
I think certainly the fan base has.
I think we've already kind of covered it a little bit, but I'm a fan of Biggio.
Yeah, I certainly am. I'm a big believer in Biggio. I think that he never really got a fair shake based on kind of the role that we had left over for him. Kind of just expected to play out a position there at third base. Not his strongest position. I don't know. Craig, how are you? I know you're a Biggio guy.
Big time. The fan base, it's a great, Michael makes a bunch of great points. Hasn't the fan base given up on him? I think so. And why? I'm right there with you, Michael. It's completely, and we've talked about this, we've touched on this at least on the walk-off, on the actual podcast. I don't know about the long toss, but on the actual walk-off, I remember us talking about it's very possible, if not probable, that Cavan Biggio did not have one at-bat healthy last season. He was hurt all game with multiple injuries, by the way, with multiple injuries. Here's
pinky,
a guy,
the neck, all of
my
it.
Gosh, that neck thing. Here's a guy coming up with Bo and Vlad, wanting to be that third in that triplet, and seeing Bo and Vlad continue to take off while he can't even get out of bed and perform at the level he like last season. I'll bet you at some point he'll sit down with a Hazel May or on the Walkoff podcast. He'll sit down with somebody, really, and he'll be honest and say, man, up here mentally, 2020 was hard for a lot of people with COVID. 2021 was my COVID year, man. I was going through it up here. There was not one day I was healthy. I was taking this medication. No. People for some reason, want to take his 2021 as if that's who Cavan Biggio is. They've got a period at the end of that sentence. I don't get it. You know the Blue Jays have at-bats from him. That's the one thing Shapiro and Atkins haven't accomplished since they've got here, is adding a left-handed bat. They've tried so many different guys. We could go through the laundry list of guys they've tried. Cavan Biggio as a left-handed on-base machine, even if he hits ninth, so he's on base as we come back to the top of the lineup for George Springer. Yes, please. Yes, please.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, like you said, left-handed bat. So there's definitely, I mean, just in the left-handed battedness of it all, there's enough reason to give him a bit of a longer leash there. Super cheap.
There's worse number 9 hitters in the league.
Yeah.
Utility. Go ahead, Joel.
I was just going to say, he's got the best chase rate in baseball. You've got the sport potentially changing with robot umpires, and I think that people talk about how that's going to change Aaron Judge, I think that's really going to change Cavan. Because when I sit there and watch Cavan take that like 3-2 pitch that's 2 inches off the plate, and they call him out, and he's like, "You're wrong." I know, like if I was there, I'd call that right. And he's the one who literally is screwed over most by incorrect calls, because he does have the best chase rate in all of baseball. He's got the best eye. He has the best eye. I see what he can be is potentially like a Ben Zobrist. Like he brings you something like the left-handed swing that he has, but he's got the really great ability on the base passes, knowing when to steal. This is stolen base percentages are like 96% or something. I think he's been caught twice.
He had a little streak going there to start his career. I think he was one short of most consecutive stolen bases without being caught to start his career in all of baseball.
That knowledge, I don't know. Bo, I don't know if you remember this. I think Bo was like he stole 4 bases, but was caught 4 times in his first 8, and was like really iffy stealing bases. And that's when Cavan's just like, stealing 20 in a row. And then the next season, all of a sudden, Bo is 25 for 26. You're like, where's that, that understanding? Clearly, those two, you're like, how do I go 95% stealing bases? Well, all of a sudden, that knowledge is passed over, and Bo Bichette suddenly has that knowledge. But yeah, I'm not giving up on him. I feel like he can take a big jump if they do ever bring in robot umpires. But I still believe that a healthy Cavan Biggio is what, a 365, 375 on base, left-handed swing. You can pencil him in left field. You can occasionally throw him at third base. You can put him at second. He can play first. Why do you want to get rid of that? He was injured. We know he was injured. Let's have him. I want to see him at 27. I want to see him at 28. I want to see him at 29. We have control of him for those years. I think those could be incredibly productive. Incredibly.
Tommy, Ben Zobrist, what a great call. At 27, 28, and 29, teams were falling all over themselves. Winning teams were falling all over themselves to add Ben Zobrist because of what you just described.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Kevin Biggio turns 27 in a month. So, yeah, I mean, right entering his prime, a healthy Kevin Biggio is all we can hope for in 2022. And I think it would bode well for him, I think, to see him predominantly at second base next year.
In a month. It'd be downright rude of him to not come on the Walkoff podcast for his birthday, I think. Let's put it out there.
Let's put it out there. All right, everybody go and spam Kevin Biggio's social media with invites to the Walkoff. All right, we do have one last topic to get here, too. Thanks again for everybody for taking the time, and thanks to Chris, who's no longer with us. Sorry, that sounded morbid. He's still alive. He's no longer with the show. But Chris Beck was a gem for giving us 45 good minutes of his time, and boy, was it fun to get some insight from him on some of those things. Before we move on to this last one is just about the kind of what's going on with Russia and how it's impacting sports. But before we get to that, let's just check in with Discord or YouTube one more time. Mark, do you have anything else for us here?
We have a YouTube question that asks, do you guys think Toronto will be part of the UK series? It doesn't ask about this year or in the near future, but what's your thoughts on that?
I guess I'll jump in here and say, not this year. I think Toronto really wants to get as many home games as they actually can. I think last year was enough of a circus. I think they just want to kind of get back to, give the fans what they want, give the players some stability. I do think that might be a great fit down the road, especially if they, put a World Series banner or two up at Rogers there. I know there's a big contingent of Blue Jays fans in the UK for whatever reason, but I think that'd be a great fit. But definitely not for this year. Joel, what do you think?
Oh yeah, we played home games in 4 stadiums last year, right? We played some in Anaheim, I think.
We had one in Anaheim in the doubleheader.
Yeah, right. Like, please, like, I want to leave Alberta so I can go see some games in Toronto. It would be nice though to see them. Yeah, I'd love to see them do some sort of Field of Dreams style game, but with the Rocky Mountains as the backdrop or something like that. That'd be, show off. If you want to send them somewhere, send them to Canada so at least Canadians can see them, and just put some majestic backdrop behind them, right? That only we can provide. I think that would be kind of interesting. Do something like that.
It'd be amazing.
Craig, what about you?
Well, I thought you knocked it out of the park, Adam. My first instinct on that was Major League Baseball should look at the Blue Jays. With these personalities, It sells itself. But that's a great point. It could still sell itself down the road. Instead of, hey, UK fans, and by the way, shout out at Blue Jays UK, right? That awesome Twitter podcast as well, Blue Jays, by the way, yes. But so not only would you have that goodness, you can have that down the road, but let's go ahead and give that goodness to the UK fans down the road, because to your point, Adam, what a great call. Aren't Canada fans first on the docket to make smile? Like, from everything that's been going on the last couple of years, shouldn't we take care of that first? So my first instinct was, yeah, they should do that. But no, I'm right there with you. Down the road, absolutely, yes. After we get this Vlad and Bo extension worked out, yeah, no, I'm kidding. But yeah, no, down the road, fine. But for this first year, no, I think I'm right there with Adam.
Mark, how about yourself? You have strong thoughts on this?
I don't think it'll happen anytime soon. I think the Yankees, Red Sox, Dodgers, those are all the now with Ohtani, I think the Angels, I think those are teams that I think the MLB is going to look to promote in the UK more before they promote the Blue Jays.
Yeah.
However, I know that there is a pretty good contingency of Blue Jays fans over there. Steve from the Blue Jays fans UK is a good friend of mine. Like, there's a bunch of guys, a bunch of people in that group that are just big Blue Jays fans. So I hope, at some point, those guys are always spending all their money to come on vacations. They spend their summers in Toronto just so they can see the Blue Jays. That'd be cool to bring them over to London one day. But
Mark,
I agree. I don't think it'll happen in the next few years.
Mark, have we been the best representation for Blue Jay fans? I just realized in the last couple of weeks, you and I have been blessed to be on at Blue Jays Fans UK. But so do they think that this is what Canada looks like? Like there's not hair hat in Canada?
Bald.
Well, we've
bald
had
head and
Steve
beard,
on the show here too, so they think we're either bald or we
Adam's
have nice big beards. So
rocking the flow today. I'm loving it.
Yeah, I got a full mullet going. I got my wife to give me a haircut, so she took the kitchen scissors to it, and I'm fully mulleted up right now. So it's playoffs for my daughter's hockey team, so I had to do something ridiculous. So here we are.
So here we are.
Yeah, I'd love to see it, but I don't think it's gonna happen soon.
All right, well, let's pivot now to last major topic of the day, and then we'll wrap up and get the hell out of here. So obviously there is the war, the conflict, the crisis, whatever you want to call it, going on in Eastern Europe there in the Ukraine. These poor Russian oligarchs are being really impacted by this whole thing. I'm kidding, of course. But it is spilling over into the sports world. Last week we talked about Alexander Ovechkin and the comments on his stance with everything. All these teams, all these, I guess, leagues, whether it's International Hockey Federation, countless other leagues have started to ban Russian hockey teams from their tournaments. And now the topic that I wanted to get to was Russian oligarch Roman Abramovich, I'm probably saying that wrong for sure, who is the majority owner of the Chelsea Football Club in the Premier League. So this is one of the biggest sports franchises in the whole world, right? Like soccer is massive globally. The Premier League is premier. It is the number one soccer league. And Chelsea is the New York Yankees of that league. Like they are the biggest, most successful club in that league year after year, right? And so he's being kind of forced to sell. What I'm surprised by is that he said he's seeking £3 billion, which works out to about $4 billion US. I'm honestly kind of surprised that franchise is only worth that much. I don't know about you folks. I just expected a mega soccer franchise like that to be worth upwards of 10 billion, yeah. Maybe that's where my expectations were at, but I don't know. I mean, the New York Yankees, as
that's where I was
2021 estimate, were estimated to be worth $5.2 billion US. Mm-hmm. I'm just shocked that the number one soccer franchise in the world, give or take, is not worth twice that.
Yeah, I figure there's like 6 or 7 teams in the Premier League that would be New York Yankees, price point, right? Yeah. I totally agree with you. And where I think we were talking about this earlier, but he's saying that he wants to give the money to. I don't know the guy. I don't know if he's being honest, but he says he's gonna give it all to some sort of,
Yeah, victims of everyone affected by the war.
Yeah, turns out to be him, right? Because I guess he's losing his team, so he's a victim, right?
Exactly. That's... I mean, if you had to sell your sports franchise, you poor guy, right? So maybe it's just a loophole, a legal loophole, right? But I don't know. Craig, what do you think? Has this gone too far, spilling over into sports? Is this a topic that we should just fucking ignore moving forward, or is it important for us to talk about? Is it important for athletes to be talking about? What do you think? Does it actually change things at the end of the day? Are we, I mean, I will say it right here proudly for everyone that the Walkoff podcast formally denounces Putin and this invasion of Ukraine. There, I said it. Do you think I've changed his mind now? Do you think he's gonna pull out now that we've personally, formally denounced him?
Wow. I've been shouting from the rooftops for a while that if you're not listening to the Walkoff podcast, you need to be. So Putin should have fed it attention to me a time ago. I've been calling for a while. as much as we love sports, and this is something we've touched on together before as well, just briefly, I guess, but as much as we all just have that absolute passion for sports, I'm a firm believer. And maybe in my younger days, this was lost on me, but as I've gotten older, it's crystal clear to me that sports is awesome. We all have a passion for it, but it is nothing. I mean, real life is just absolutely superior, just absolutely superior. So if sports can help out with real life, then I actually am for it. The only parallel I can draw, because I can just barely even spell soccer, let alone wax poetically about it. The only parallel I can think of is in North America, what a big deal it was when Donald Sterling was forced to sell the LA Clippers. And I think you're right, Adam. This will be a much bigger deal than that, because soccer is such on a world scale. I'm going to go ahead without knowing much about it. I'm going to put faith in the people who made the decision to do it, and think that there's some method to the madness there. And earlier we had Joel being the optimist for the strike. I'll be the optimist here and say that I hope things like this can work. Absolutely. When you're talking about a dictatorship like that, how many different avenues do you have that will really speak to that dictatorship? Maybe the pocketbooks is one of them.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point. Like, I mean, we're seeing not just sports franchises being sold. We're seeing obviously all the sanctions that are being implemented, yachts being seized, airplanes, private jets, everything's being seized, right?
I guess Putin's going to listen to the Russian billionaires who are potentially coming in and say, "Hey, there's 50 of us. Look what you're doing." We've had to give up this. We've had to give up this. We don't necessarily back you anymore, right? Like,
well, it's like the mafia mentality, right?
Such
like,
a corrupt nation.
Everybody's happy when we're all making money, but as soon as things go sideways, all of a sudden the Godfather isn't looking so godly. So, I mean, maybe there is hope at the end of the day that these oligarchs can get to him with enough pressure being applied to them directly. I do just worry though, like to a little bit of an extent that. You know, and I'm seeing it here in the YouTube chat that like sports is our escape. I look at sports, I look at arts, all forms of entertainment as something that should bring people from all walks of life together, right? As a commonality, as a common ground. I worry about the broader impact of ostracizing Russian athletes and you know, like the Russian people, I think for the most part, the Russian people are not, they don't have their hands dirty in this mess the way the people at the top do, right? So to some extent, maybe we're implementing punishment in the wrong direction, but I don't know how much of it is posturing for the sake of PR and how much of it is like practical and really going to make a difference, you know? Like, I don't know, I'm reading stupid articles like the International Cat Federation of whatever cat shows has like banned Russian cats from entering the cat contest now. Like, you know, like it's kind of being like, it's escalating to a point where what are we doing here?
It's hard to look at players who like let's say Ovechkin, right? Like there's no evil that all he cares about is scoring. Guy cares about scoring goals, and he puts every effort and fiber of his being into being the best goal scorer on the planet, right? So it's really hard to just look at another human being whose goal and aspirations in life were to be a great hockey player and be like, oh, your country, I have to, you know, I have to judge you now because of the things that higher ups are doing in your country that you have no effect on. And that nothing you can do affects, like, I don't know. It's really, really hard to, especially like, I feel bad for like the junior players on the, like, did they ban the junior hockey team? Is that true as well?
I don't know. I haven't read that myself, so I can't speak to that.
So like, I feel like that's just a group of young amateur kids who want to play hockey, right? Like,
and when does it go too far? Like, at what point? Because like I'm here, you know, you read reports, and I mean, whatever, misinformation, and it's all bullshit and fake news, and who can keep track of it these days, right? But also, like, you know, you hear reports of like in New York City or in Washington or in Boston or wherever, you know, these like Russian-owned restaurants, like just family diners, are being vandalized and burnt down and stuff like this. And it's like, these are people who've just have nothing to do with the war other than that they have a Russian last name, right? Or that they
and they've set up shop in America to live the American dream and honor their Russian ancestry, right? Like, oh no, these horrible people.
So like to some extent, when we start, justifying the suspension of the Russian hockey team from the World Juniors, right? Does that breed a atmosphere where that hatred to Russians in general is like just the new thing? Like, I don't, I'm reading about articles where like the provincial liquor boards are like, we're not selling Russian vodka anymore. Like, just the most ridiculous stuff. And where does it end? How does it impact everyone?
They didn't do that during the Cold War,
hatred, right? Yeah.
Right. Like the teams played each other in the most volatile time when it was like nuclear war was the threat. Like you had the Summit Series, you had Canada Cup, and you had teams playing against each other, and
well, that's the spirit of the Olympics in general, right? Is like during like Nazi Germany, like
100%.
The idea was, look, we send all of our athletes, and the purity of sport kind of supersedes all the political bullshit that's happening outside of it, right? Like, there is a weird common ground that we don't have anymore, and I'm not necessarily sure that that's a good thing.
Yeah,
it's a tough situation. Tough. I mean, as cliche as it is to say, our thoughts and prayers are with everyone, and that's kind of an empty thing to say too, right? But like, from the bottom of my heart, like I do hope that we do see a safe and peaceful resolution to this conflict as soon as fucking possible. And I think that's, unless anybody else has anything else that they want to add to it. I mean, Craig, I can see a very serious look on your face, so I'll let you wrap it up. But that's where I'm going to leave things myself. Is just I want as few deaths as possible, and I hope for a quick and peaceful resolution.
And that's the only thing I would add is I think having those teams come over is the move to make. I think if you have them just be isolated with the propaganda going on in their own country, their eyes won't be opened. If these guys come over to North America and they think they're coming to live their dream of playing in these big tournaments and stuff, and they think that people want to interview them for their hockey or whatever that sport is, and all people want to do is talk about how much they disapprove what the country's doing, I think they all go back to Russia, and everyone that asks them their experiences, it's just, man, nobody wanted to talk hockey. The whole world's against. Did you know that? Everyone's denouncing us. Did you know that? Did you know that? That's all anyone wanted to talk about. I actually think that is a better thing than banning them. From a propaganda standpoint, you banned them. Now Putin and the PR machine can really get their backs up with the us against the world mentality and rally their own people. So to your point, Adam, I do wonder if it's the right move of banning these people. I may not go that route myself.
Well, thanks again, everybody, for tuning in. Thanks to Mark, Joel, Craig, and of course Chris, who's taking care of business now. He's had to log off earlier, but thanks again to everybody for hanging out with us here and burning 2 hours of your own time to talk ball and to talk sports and to talk life here on Long Toss on the Walkoff. Let's wrap it up. Craig, what are you up to? Where can people find you? Let's go from there.
I would love the at Wheat Sox UFLB. That's my ask. If you guys can check that out at Wheat Sox UFLB. At Wheat Sox UFLB on Facebook. No, geez, I don't even know if we're on Facebook. I'm not. But Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok.
All right, very good. And what is your? Because the draft is done now. You've got your team. You've got your roster. What is you're just waiting now for the lockout to end, and then a schedule will get released, and then it'll be full steam ahead, hey?
Exactly correct.
Is there anything else happening in the meantime? Do you have like a rookie draft or anything like that?
No, I had the prospects draft. I had the big draft today. We have a trade coming up to announce on Tuesday because we acquired Marcus Stroman, but I can't say anything about that yet, so don't ask. That was a joke because I've just let the cat out of the bag there. But
did you tell him on Twitter?
Yeah, no, that's not announced on Twitter yet. No. But you're exactly right, Adam. We are now, just like every other fan on Earth, we are in the waiting game. You're exactly correct.
The waiting game. All right. Well, hopefully it's a swift and peaceful resolution. Joel, how about yourself? What are you working
on? Still working on the movie. Shooting picks up again on the 12th and 13th. Once again, going to have it wrapped hopefully at the beginning of April, and then something to give you guys maybe a month or so after that. Also, some guys and I on TikTok, Daily Dose of Baseball. His name is Jack over at Daily Dose of Baseball. Me and Rick from Rick Talks Baseball. Monday nights we're getting together on Twitch, and we're gonna watch old school baseball games during the lockout. So you guys, yeah, just we're gonna do first one is 7 o'clock Eastern Monday, so tomorrow. We're gonna watch the '95 American League Division Series, Game 5, Yankees versus the Red Sox, and it's just gonna sit there and watch a baseball game. And so, like, you got 15 minutes that you don't have anything to do. You want to come watch 15 minutes of baseball. You want to come watch 3 hours of baseball. There's 3 people who are trying to put some sort of baseball up. It's Rick from Rick Talks Baseball. It was his idea, and I'm just gonna sit there and bullshit. Well, an absolutely lights out baseball game. That is truly one of the most amazing. If you haven't seen that baseball game, I'm not saying that you have to come watch it with us. Sit down. It's on YouTube. It is. There's so many storylines going there. Seattle extends their franchise existence. The beginning of the Yankees dynasty. You got Jeter in one dugout. You got A-Rod in the other. You've got Randy Johnson pitching. You got Mariano Rivera pitching. You got some of the most Edgar Martinez. It's just wow, what a game. And a time period where they didn't have the outline of the strike zone, where they didn't have cell phones in the stands. They didn't have video replays. It's just it's only 1995, but it feels like it's 100 years ago.
That's awesome. And you're going to be doing that every Monday on Twitch?
Yeah, every Monday at 7 Eastern on Twitch. They're calling it the Dead Red Podcast. Okay. And it's not really a podcast. It's just sit down and come in and get a beer and watch baseball. And you guys are more than invited to come on the show and just sit down and bring a game with you, and we'll watch it. We'll bullshit baseball. That's really all the idea is.
Sounds good. Maybe we'll watch the Joe Carter walk-off game sometime.
Oh, dude. Bat flip. There's some Blue Jays games that are all-timers, man. There's some all-time baseball classics.
Definitely. Oh, yeah, the bat flip game. I mean, that's
50 minutes there. Yeah. That 7th inning is Shakespeare could not write that.
All right. Well, when you guys get to that game, you make sure you give me a call, all right?
100%. 100%.
Right, cheers. And thanks again one last time to Mark for holding it down on YouTube and in Discord. Thanks so much, Mark.
Thanks so much, Mark.
Do this without you.
Yeah, no problem. Good time.
All right, we'll see everybody next Sunday for episode 7. I think, and I can't confirm this yet, but I think Anthony Telford is coming back on the show. So if you've seen any of our convos with him, that's a former Expos pitcher and Nate Pearson's personal pitching coach. So Anthony Telford, really looking forward to chatting with him next Sunday. We'll see all you guys next week. Cheers.
Awesome.
All right.